Hi, and welcome back to SEO On-Air. I'm your host, Aaron, and today we have Yury Byalik, Head of Strategy and Acquisitions at Unfolio.com. In this episode, we talk about how to turn blogging into something profitable, generative AI's impact on SEO and content creation, and tips and tricks to create a memorable and distinct brand. I hope you enjoyed this episode. So Yuri, can you tell me a bit more about you and your journey before getting into Unfolio?
Yeah, so uh, basically, my educational background is as a lawyer. Although I never actually practiced, I kind of graduated when the entire legal market had crashed, and so while I was in law school, I built out a couple websites, SEO related kind of websites, and ended up selling them to a legal marketing company called LexisNexis. So then, after law school, I ended up actually going to work in their SEO department, and that kind of started the journey into digital marketing. And then from there, I spent over 10 years working in SEO on the agency side, client side, consulting companies. And eventually, I was kind of sick of the corporate life. I was like in my early 30s at the time, and I decided to pretty much get rid of everything I had. I quit my job and I left the US and I started my digital nomad journey. Started in Bali, took a couple months off, and then started doing some consulting for one M&A company, which they acquire SaaS businesses. And then after a few months there, I started doing some consulting for Unfolio, just managing some SEO properties. And eventually that kind of transitioned into now managing the actual properties and then also doing the M&A.
So I had another question before asking this one, but I'll stick to this one and then get to that previous question. Can you tell us more about Onfolio and what kind of, let's say, work they do and services offered?
Sure. So Unfolio is a publicly traded holding company on NASDAQ. So we basically acquire and run online businesses. When Unfolio first started, it had like a different business model. So we would help investors buy online businesses, usually content affiliate sites, and we would manage it for them. And over time, that's transitioned with kind of the way the industry and everything was going. We decided to transition where instead of helping investors buy the businesses, we would actually acquire them ourselves. And so we ended up doing that and eventually took the company public. So now we have like a portfolio of online businesses that we run for ourselves. We still have a few legacy ones that we manage for clients. And otherwise, we're just continuing to look for opportunities to acquire new assets.
All right. I mean, quite a lot to unpack over there. But in that time itself, in the, let's say, 10 years you've been in the industry, what are some of the, let's say, big changes you've seen happen throughout?
Yeah, I mean, the most recent one is probably the biggest, and that's kind of the advance of the AI and what that's going to mean for SERPs and for SEO. But over the years, you kind of see Google, rewarding larger media publishers and brands. Uh, I've always had to believe that Google does not like affiliates. And so every time they make an update, it serves a couple purposes. One is to try to weed out affiliate sites because they don't really see the value of them. And the other one is all the revenue comes from AdWords. So every update, they really need a way to improve their ad revenue. So if that means, pushing down certain sites where those sites now have to start running paid campaigns, they're going to do that. But yeah, the most recent change with AI is kind of, turned the whole industry upside down where, if they're answering questions without, linking to the sources as has seen in the demos, then that's going to mean a lot less traffic for affiliates. So, just looking at the businesses that are for sale and looking at the content sites and the multiples they sell for, people kind of know what's coming because now they're trying to exit quickly and the multiples are going down. Because nobody really knows what's going to happen, but it's kind of believed that a lot of these informational sites are going to take a big drop.
Do you feel like there's going to be like a constant change every month and that pretty much people in the SEO industry have to be on their toes all the time now?
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to say exactly where it's going to go because things are kind of changing so quickly. I think a lot of it is also going to be up to the consumer behavior, because not everybody kind of is on top of the AI trends like maybe you and myself and other people are. So where I'm like kind of integrating ChatGPT into the plugins and using it that way. Other people might not be, but it's definitely, the consumer behavior is definitely going to change over time. And that's gonna kind of impact what happens on Google and what everybody in the SEO industry is gonna have to work on. If you kind of like look at now, like a big thing in the SEO world is like topical authority now. It's kind of, being pushed by all the videos and blog posts, and it seems to be, it's an important factor. And I think actually Google just came out today and kind of mentioned on topic authority related to, I think it was actually to the new changes for news articles. But yeah, SEO is always going to be around. It's just going to evolve. And that might mean like, the optimization for prompts. So, if you want to get listed in a prompt, you have to optimize for it. And I already saw a Twitter thread where, somebody had suggestions about how to optimize for that. Because if you ask, for example, like what are the top, 5 business books out there, it's going to look at the mentions on Google and pick out the ones that are being mentioned the most. So it's kind of almost shifting from potentially a link source to a mention source. And Google has accounted for this in their patents a long time ago with they have patents on entities. So this is definitely something that they kind of saw coming.
If I am someone who is like you and I pretty much I'm trying to start off my journey into the blogging world without the help of AI, how do I really start off and make it a profitable venture?
I think you want to treat your blog like a business. So you want to go into it beforehand, already knowing how you eventually plan on driving the traffic and ultimately monetizing it. Just building like a blog from scratch, relying on ad revenue, it's really like a long and difficult game. So I think it's really important, like that you want to build out your email list. So you want to have, your lead magnets. You want to know how you're going to get the people on your mailing list. And then ultimately, what are you going to do with that list? Are you going to drive affiliate offers, or ideally you'd want to sell your own like digital products or courses on there. So as long as you kind of treat it as a business from the beginning and not like as a hobby, you're just going to, blog without any kind of intention of like monetizing it, there's still potential there.
And what would you say are some of the common pitfalls that one can avoid when starting off? Or what are some of the common mistakes you've seen most people make?
One is definitely kind of picking the wrong niche, right? Because if you pick something that's either too small or too difficult to monetize, it kind of puts a ceiling on the potential opportunity that's there. So, there's different philosophies around whether you should build something you're passionate about or build something purely for, to generate revenue. And either one of those is fine, but you still have to pick a profitable niche in order to get there.
Okay. And another question would be that if I do pick my profitable niche and I put in the consistent effort, what would be a time frame to actually see some kind of result? Or is it an ongoing, never-ending practice?
It's always an ongoing thing. But, it also depends on how you plan on monetizing it. If you're looking to purely do just, rely on organic rankings, and it's a brand new domain name, it's definitely going to take longer than if you buy an expired domain name that has like powerful links to it and you plan on monetizing it with a course. One might take you 2 years where the other one might take you 6 months. So it's really a matter of kind of what direction you go with it.
And I know there really isn't a proper answer to this, but is there a short way out or a quick get-rich method this way?
I wouldn't say a good get-rich method, but the kind of the quickest method is to acquire somebody else's blog that already has the traffic and revenue that you could work on growing from there. And that's kind of why I'm really a big fan of mergers and acquisitions. It's the fastest path of growth. So whether you have an existing business or you don't, and you're looking to kind of break into the market and limit the potential of like a failing business, then an acquisition makes the most sense. Because if you look at kind of like the amount of websites that get no traffic or the amount of businesses that end up failing after a couple months or never become profitable, a lot of those risks are limited when you buy a good business. And I say good, just assuming you do all your due diligence and you don't buy a lemon.
Right. I was going to ask, how do you really determine what is a good business or a lemon?
So, you look at a lot of different things. One is kind of the vertical and it's in, and whether it's something that's kind of just a fad and it's going to go away, or is it something that's going to survive over the years? You have to, do the due diligence. So you look at, the analytics, the traffic, the financials, things like that. But you also have to really plan ahead. And that's actually been kind of more challenging now with what's happened with AI, because, if this was a year ago and you were asking me these questions, I'd have very different answers for you, because I don't think anyone was kind of expecting the AI to take over that we've seen so far. But now it's actually more difficult to evaluate businesses, because you have to now understand how AI is going to play a part in it, and whether there's room for integration, or are they going to get killed by competitors now for integrating with AI? That's why you see a lot of people kind of freaking out on like Twitter, because, they spent 6 months or a year building something that's no longer necessary because AI just replaced it. If you look at like, if you need something like simple, like coding, plugins, things like that, ChatGPT can do all of that. So I think you need a much stronger moat for the business now. And I think one of those things going forward is actually community. I think people are going to be craving for their own kind of communities. And, you're going to see a lot of these like smaller communities, paid communities. And I think that's kind of a good moat to have when doing acquisitions.
How exactly can AI help you find out what would be a good merger and acquisition? Are there like specific tools to be used, or?
You can actually use the AI now to help you with some of like the due diligence. So if you're looking to review like financial documents, there's a lot of like new like tools coming out, financial analysis tools, things like that. You can have it like help you review contracts, pull out terms that might not be ideal for you, counter with terms. Ideally, you always have a lawyer that's helping you, but pretty much any kind of function along the line of this is where kind of AI can help. There's tools like to help you like source deals. So they'll send out like bulk emails, to see if people want to sell their businesses. So it's kind of like in the very beginning of the deal flow and prospecting, all the way to the end, helping you with your asset purchase agreement, analyzing the financials. I actually saw somebody on Twitter, what was the bank that failed? Silicon Valley Bank. And he actually used ChatGPT to identify the risks that Silicon Valley Bank had, and it was able to do so by looking at their financials documents.
I've seen the other side of ChatGPT, where they have, I don't know if it's called Chaos GPT, but it's kind of connected to the dark web instead of the actual internet. And it acts as the more, let's say, criminal side of ChatGPT. So to kind of tie that in with the podcast topics we have, where do you stand on, let's say, the ethics of using AI for tools and other, let's say, business-related work?
I mean, I don't see any problem with it. I know there's a lot of like lawsuits happening and ethical debates around, getting trained on copyrighted images and data and things like that. And I'm actually curious as an attorney to see how that plays out. But I think it's one of those things where you can't prevent kind of the future from happening. And no matter how many roadblocks there are going to be, eventually, technological innovation is going to happen one way or another. And you kind of see this actually play out where there's a couple stock photo sites, and I can't remember which one is which, but one of them decided to, go with AI, and they decided to integrate with it, while the other one is now suing OpenAI for getting trained on their images. So two very different paths. And I think the path that's most likely to succeed is the one that, embraces AI rather than tries to oppose it.
In terms of helping content being created, how exactly can AI tools really help in that field? And what are, again, some of the pros and cons of using it?
Yeah, so I think it's really good for doing outlines for content. You can use it for suggestions for whether it's keyword research, just to get like, high level like topic ideas, and then you can use, keyword research tools. I really like it for outlines, for ideas, for titles, things like meta tags. It can like topical authority kind of things, especially when you integrate the one with the internet, right? Now you can feed in your sitemap, your competitors, things like that. And all the SEO tools have, various AI integrations now as well. The issue is, I think, one, the quality. I think the AI content is a bit repetitive. So you can tell, especially without any edits, right? You can tell when something was written by AI. Um, the other thing is, right for now, Google is saying AI content is fine. And I think they're doing that because they have to. I don't think they're able to detect AI, especially at the scale that they need to. So I think they went and said, kind of gave everybody permission to use it because they had no other choice right now. So they kind of make it look like they're the good guys, but in reality,
They're just
that might
panicking.
actually change in the future. As far as the AI detection tools, one, I'm noticing a lot of them are giving false positives. And I've actually had this conversation about originality.ai and how awful it is now with that. And so I have like this canned email that I send to our customers now where I give them examples of like originality AI showing that certain like passages from the Bible are 100% AI. And then if a client also emails me, I'll go back to like the client's website. I'll take one of their articles from like 3 years ago, and it'll also come back as like, AI.
Yeah.
And so they kind of see, there's also been a couple scientific papers, and I actually just found one on Twitter that says AI is actually not able to detect other AI. So whatever these tools claim, it's just a way for them to generate revenue. There actually is no way for them to detect it. That might change in the future. I know at least Google Bard is apparently they said they're watermarking their content.
Do you feel like a lot of people will be switching towards AI, or will there be more people kind of put down AI and say that no, our tool, which incorporates AI, will be better than the general free AI that you can get?
I think it depends on the business. I think like affiliate marketers and block site owners, they're definitely going to be using as much AI content as possible. And I'm already seeing like people pump out like thousands of articles every month because I think it's kind of like the gold version now where everyone's just trying to get ahead. Um, and then I think there's going to be other businesses where their differentiator is going to be like human quality, right? Something in like the kind of the YMYL space, right? So like finance, health, maybe even like things about pets that are health related. Um, and ultimately, I think that's kind of going to be like, where Google's going to come up with like updates where it's going to be able to determine not necessarily if the content is AI or not, but who wrote it and whether that person is to be trusted. And then kind of in the middle ground, you're going to see a bit of, both where companies are using like AI to help assist their content writers.
So a question then, if let's say we all move to a future where most content now being produced is created 80% by AI, what exactly would help your content rank higher than other people?
I think it would be like the assuming that the quality is the same, it might come down either to the trust of the author or kind of what like all the SEOs are preaching is backlinks, right? Um, Google's never been able to get away from backlinks because that's their bread and butter, right? That's how you could tell whether a website is trusted or not is the amount of and authority of the backlinks that they receive. So assuming that all other factors are equal, for now they're still relying on backlinks on, and I know they have entities in their formula as well, and that plays a part of it as well. But backlinks might actually become more important for the sites where Google can't answer the specific subject, and they're still going to provide like search results.
I feel like also if let's say the content was changed differently to let's say answer the user intent, that probably would also push that as a factor to be ranked higher, I guess, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially with how cheap it is to produce content with AI and how personalized Google is getting, they might, you might have like 5 articles with the same exact topic be shown in the first place for 5 different people, potentially like just depending on the specific query that they're asking and how that article answers it and the intent of that. But we're kind of entering the age of hyper personalization where everybody's going to get exactly what they're looking for. Whether that comes directly from Google or from the website, that's kind of the big question.
But can we get a little bit more detail in how, let's say, SEO can be properly, let's say, improved with AI or other AI tools?
Sure, like yeah, I mean there's a ton of the SEO tools now that have integrated AI with it, right? So, they're able now to take a look at your entire website. They're able to map it out, see where you're missing internal links and make recommendations there. Um, Much faster now to create, custom meta titles and descriptions that a lot of site owners previously were skipping. I've already seen people starting to use like ChatGPT with the web to find link partners, because now it can crawl the web. It can see who offers link opportunities. It can find like the contact information with them, what the requirements are. So it's a lot of what you were able to do before. It's just now much faster, a larger scale, and at a higher quality.
How exactly in this 2023 atmosphere can affiliate marketers actually get their foot through the door and continue thriving?
Yeah, I mean, so there's always the paid side, right? At least for now, until the companies are starting to work directly with the brands. But you could still do affiliate marketing through paid media. So whether that's creating like an opt-in page and getting that into your email sequence, whether it's doing paid ads directly to like a straight sale. So you can kind of do it on the paid thing. TikTok is really big. A lot of affiliates have jumped on the TikTok bandwagon. Kind of pretty much anything you do like in the e-commerce space, you can also do it in the affiliate space. And that, organically, that's kind of the case as well. I think now it's going to be more challenging doing like, the kind of the top 10 best queries and affiliate style content that way. Especially when I think, soon like Google is going to switch to like their AI first homepage. And whether you're looking for best products or comparisons or product reviews, and it's going to provide that information directly without either citing the sources or pushing sources below the fold, I think that's going to hurt the affiliate marketers. So I think they're going to have to adapt, and at least for the time being, switch into doing more paid marketing, which isn't really going to work for something like Amazon affiliates, but would work for like higher ticket items.
For, let's say, Amazon affiliates, is there, let's say, a way out for them, or do we just have to wait and watch?
I mean, I'm not a fan of Amazon affiliates or content affiliate sites for the most part. I've been kind of sour on them the last couple of years because I saw where Google was heading. Every update, you see how many of them get penalized. So I think the best thing for them is kind of to switch to more of an e-commerce based business, or potentially even like digital products. So if you have like a pet affiliate site, right, you might want to turn it into an e-commerce store, or sell some kind of courses on their digital products. Because I don't think affiliate's gonna last.
So another thing is, what would you say are some of the common mistakes you see most affiliates making?
Most affiliates don't collect emails, which is like the number one mistake. Because you're just sending customers, you're sending your most important thing, which is your visitors, to other places, and you're not getting any of their information. And email is always going to be the highest converting channel that there is. It's kind of one of the things you truly own, right? They can take away your hosting. You might have to switch hosts. They can, like penalize you, whatever it is, but you'll always have that email list you build. And I think that's something where a lot of affiliate marketers just are like focused on that.
Are there many? I don't think there could be probably other mistakes that they're making, right? Or is it like a myriad of mistakes and this is the top one?
I mean, that's the top one. I'd say like a lot of affiliate marketers, they probably don't really adapt, and they try to like look for kind of like a, quick and easy money solution. They don't really stay ahead of like the curve in the industry. I think because if they did, they'd probably be running their business a little bit differently. So, they see what they have as like a website that makes money, not necessarily like a business. And one of the easiest ways to kind of tell this is, if you ask somebody and they don't want to share their website, they don't have a business, right? They have something that makes them money. They don't have a business, because you'll never go to like a real business person and, it'll be like, oh, what's your business? They're like, I'm sorry, I can't share that. Yeah. That's when you know whether somebody thinks like they have like a business that can last, or whether they just have something that makes them money.
And in that kind of aspect as well, since we are talking about businesses, we did touch on it earlier about what would be a good let's say, agency to buy or not to buy based on the due diligence that you make. So what would you say are some tips and tricks that you would recommend agency owners so that they know these kind of they know what to look for before even getting into it, apart from, let's say, the due diligence?
For someone looking to buy an agency, you mean?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. Or if we can get into the due diligence into more details, maybe.
sure. Yeah. So I mean, it's gonna vary depending on the business you buy. I'd say, financials, you definitely want to have an accountant or financial company involved to review the P&L and look at, historical data, do projections on how the business is performing, and really like dive into the numbers. I looked at an e-commerce business where I thought everything was fine. And then our CFO kind of dove in after me, and he saw like a number of issues where, a lot of like one supplier was responsible for a lot of the sales. There was a lot of issues with refunds and chargebacks coming from a certain supplier. So just a lot of things that I wouldn't see because I'm not specialized in that area. Um, I'd say, you want to understand like the traffic, right? Where the visitors coming from, where they're converting from. Are you going to be able to maintain these numbers over the next couple of years? What happens if you try to scale it? Um, there's also a lot of kind of like just stuff like HR related. Does, is the team going to stay after the business is sold? That's something you want to find out.
Because if your
Instead of
team
thinking,
leaves after that, then you pretty much buy an empty business, I guess.
yeah, it's definitely hard to replace the business. And not only that, like, ideally you buy a business that it's one of those things like the best business you can buy is the one where the CEO does no work because that means he has an entire team running the business and it's safe. I've seen businesses, especially on the agency side, actually, where the agency owner is a really good salesperson and he's the one responsible for getting a lot of the leads and the sales. So when you try to buy the business and you take him out of it, the business just doesn't work. And that's something I noticed particular to agency owners because a lot of them are very good on the sales side, and it's hard to replace them.
So let's say I was an agency owner and I'm trying to, let's say, build a brand that for now I'm not really aiming to sell it. I'm not building the brand to sell it. But I'm trying to build a memorable brand that could probably hold value to a buyer potentially. Two questions here. One would be, how do I get to that point? And two, what are some examples you could probably share?
Yeah, one is definitely like delegation and hiring, right? You want to be you want to be able to take a vacation if you wanted to for an entire year and your business will continue to grow. That's when you know you have like all the missing pieces in place. If you're like still involved in day-to-day things, then you kind of want to take yourself out. You want to be there to like, oversee the company and maybe like high level decisions about, the future, the growth, things like that. Um, I'm trying to think of like some companies. I think it's actually one of those things where you don't see it that often at companies because the owner is still very much involved.
Like you mentioned, any agency who kind of has that distance between the top level management and the actual going on. If they don't really have the, let's say, day-to-day need of that person, that would be most likely to, would be most, let's say, preferable to acquire.
Yeah, it's definitely preferable to acquire something where, like, somewhere where the business is already kind of automated, where it's running smoothly, and ideally, the owner and the CEO is not even necessarily the same person, because then when you acquire the business, the CEO stays on with the business. Um, I've also seen where like the CEO is the owner, and then they sell the business, and then there's somebody that's really good at like operations that you can then promote to be the new CEO and take over the business. Um, but hiring good salespeople for an agency is a difficult task. What I'm learning, and I think that's kind of especially when it's your business, you kind of never want to let go of that responsibility.
But another question would be that if, let's say, we are taking this example of agency owners who are trying to build a brand, if people who are just starting off, what have you noticed are some of their common pitfalls?
Yeah, I'd say they're kind of trying to they take on like all the customers, so they go very broad in their specialties, whether that's in the industries that they serve or in the services that they offer. So like we actually acquired SEO Butler, and SEO Butler has always been like a very general agency in terms of industries. You know, as far as services, it's traditionally only offered for services, but it's never had like a particular niche down industry. And we're looking to change that. But if you look at like, you know, I've seen there's one company, I can't remember their website, but they do SEO just not just for attorneys, because attorneys is like one niche, but they go even lower and they focus on personal injury attorneys.
Right, right.
And because of that, you know, they're able to dial in their marketing, they're able to speak directly to their client, and, you know, they're having like a lot of success. So I think agency owners, they really want to kind of pick their audience, pick their market, their specialties, and just go very narrow in that niche. And that way they can actually grow faster.
Is there any, I'm not sure this is the right question to ask as well, but is there a way to kind of find a proper value to the company that I'm trying to sell off?
I think it depends on the business and kind of the market. Right now, I think multiples are down because of, you know, the kind of the economy in the US and things like that. Agencies generally tend to sell for lower multiples than other businesses. I've actually seen agency owners not wanting to sell because they know, like, as running an agency, it's a really good cash flow business that they're just going to keep collecting. But they know if they sell it, they're not really going to get like a high multiple. I think one way around that is if you're able to productize your service and you have a bunch of customers on a monthly subscription plan, that'll make it much more attractive to a buyer. And then potentially, if you can even add like a SaaS component to that, potentially even through like an acquisition, you can increase the value of your business now, because now it's both like a SaaS and a service.
What if I am now trying to acquire a company, and on paper it looks pretty fine, but when I do actually make the acquisition, it turns out to be a complete wreck, what's a train wreck, right? Yeah. So is there a way to kind of, well, one, avoid making that mistake, or is there also like a quick fix to that after the mistake is already made?
I think it depends on like what the issue was. You're never going to be able to catch absolutely everything, right? So we actually had this happen where a business we were helping to acquire for one of our investors, you know, they were basically the business that they acquired, the seller ended up lying to the investors. So for example, we asked whether any customers or their larger customers planned on leaving, and they said no, but that actually was not true. And that's one of those where like they're not going to let you speak to their customers during kind of the due diligence. And so that's kind of hard to catch. Another thing is the agency was giving kickbacks to one of the businesses that was bringing in customers for them, which is illegal. And again, due diligence would not have uncovered that. And so there's always going to be things like that where, one, this is why you have lawyers and contracts, and, you know, you might need to get legal involved. And, you know, if you can't, then otherwise you just kind of have to work your ass off to turn things around.
So if, let's say, things are in your favor, in the sense like if you do take this to legal court, you will technically come out on top. How often have you seen that actually happen, where, let's say, the person you're buying from has either lied or given you some incorrect information? Misinformation was what I was trying to say. So how often have you seen this happen?
I mean, I don't really know how. I think it also depends on the size of the business, because, you know, lawsuits are really expensive. So if you're talking about like 50 grand, 100 grand, potentially, you know, depending how high you go, it might not necessarily even make sense because you're going to spend more money in legal fees than you would. So it really depends on how big the mistake is. But like a really good example is, and I can't remember the company, but it was a financial company that was just recently purchased by a bank. And it turned out, so the woman lied about the number of users they had. She hired a data scientist to increase like the number of users by like over 1 million. And Now she's getting sued by the bank and she's getting criminally tried, right? Because like this is not only like a civil matter, now it's also a criminal matter. So most likely she's going to have to give back all the money she sold the business for, and she's going to jail probably for 10 years.
All right. In the same kind of vein, what is the future for Yury? Do you see yourself continuing this field or maybe taking on greater adventures?
I'm a big fan of M&A. I'd like to stay in the space in whatever capacity that can be. I love like seeing and learning about all the different like opportunities, the business go up for sale. So like, I talk about data. I have a lot of data in my head of all the businesses for sale, how much money they make, what, like, it might even be like a lot of your competitors, and I have like the data on them.
We can get on a call later for that. No worries.
NDAs. But yeah, I see myself in the M&A space. I love emerging technology, right? So I'm trying to stay kind of as up to date as I can on AI, but that alone is like a full-time job.
What would be, let's say, 3 books that you would recommend our viewers and listeners? They don't have to be, let's say, business related or digital marketing. They could just be any of the 3 books.
Yeah, so I like the Lean Startup. I think I actually got started with like the 4-hour work week. I think it's one of those where if you have like a job and you're trying to, make a decision of what to do, it's like kind of like a good book to read to light a fire under your ass. So yeah, the Lean Startup I think is a great one. Power of Habit is another good one. I like kind of anything in the business, self-improvement, motivational, and like a little bit spirituality space. And a lot of those I like tie in together.
In terms of spirituality, does Power of Habit also kind of lean into that? Or is it, let's say, a more specific book that you could recommend?
Even something as, I'm trying, but there was one, I'm blanking on the name that I really like, but even something as like The Secret, which is like the first like, law of attraction book that went mainstream. There's still like a lot you can learn from that. And, like law of attraction is like based on quantum physics, and there's a lot to do with, visualization and things like that. So, just kind of getting like, it's an easy book to read, and it's just kind of good to start with.
In terms of podcasts, what would be your top 3 recommendations for that?
Yeah, so I listen to like My First Million religiously. I'm a big fan of like Sam Parr and like The Hustle and Trains and that whole story there. I grew up on like Tim Ferriss's podcast. I also like Noah Kagan, How I Built This. I'm also a member of like an entrepreneur community called Dynamite Circle, and they have one called Tropical MBA, which is really good as well. Has a lot of like entrepreneur interviews. Of course, I have to mention you guys, SEO On-Air, for my SEO ones.
Thank you so much, Yury, for the chat. Pretty insightful. We will try to put you on another list of podcasts if you don't mind doing around 2 episodes.
No, not at all. That'd be great.
Do you also mind doing a roundtable talk where we have 3-4 other people join the call as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, thank you so much for this chat.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching that episode. I hope you enjoyed. For more videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe.